Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. You know what I think we need? We need theme music. We need music that comes in the beginning because it's just quiet and that's weird. So theme music. Let's add theme music. I don't know why I brought that up. It's just something that, maybe we used to have theme music. And then when we started doing the live shows, it was too hard to do. But I think we can pull that off. I'm Tony Demakis. I get to be your host every week that we do this and talk about what's going on in the world of manufacturing in the United States and specifically North America. And that is the challenges, the successes, the why, right? Why do we do what we do in this economy, in this world, in this country? And how is it making an impact? And how is it making an impact in the community, on our team, and everything else? And, we usually don't talk the numbers and the details and things like that. But today, we've got a guest who is way smarter than I am. That is a fact. And he's a CMM programmer and machinist, and he's going to walk us through a bunch of different stuff, and that's going to be awesome. So, a couple things. It is a live show, so if it's not good, just bear with it for a little while, and we will get better, hopefully. And it is live, and there are an ability to chat, and so you can. We've already got chats going on, which is great, and so you can put comments in the platforms, whether that's Facebook, whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's YouTube. Go ahead and put your company, your name, and whatever comment you want to put in there, whether that's just hello or you have a thought on what we are discussing today. And we would love to have you join the conversation and share your input, because that's what this is about. It's about bringing value to those that are listening and helping our industry grow. So there's that. And then I'm going to say, do me a favor, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. We have a strictly audio version. If you get tired of seeing us and you would like to download it later, you can do that on iTunes, Google Play, all of those different platforms. We are there. But it helps the algorithms. Do me a favor, make a quick review. That would be great. Comment, whatever that looks like. Real quick, the biggest thing that we have coming up is going to be MD&M West out in Anaheim, California. It's February 6th through the 7th through the 9th. Yeah, I know that for sure because I looked it up earlier. Because there's something else that we're going to try. I've already started this. Vanessa doesn't know about it yet. She's learning in real time, which is always fun for everybody involved. But MD&M West is a huge plastic show. There's a lot of different parts to it, and one of the things that we thought is that there's so much time and resources and people that kind of get wasted in going to trade shows and conferences. Now, I think they're very important, but I also think there's something valuable that we can do when we all come together that can impact the community that we're in and do something awesome in a way that is different than I think has been done before. And so what we're going to do on February 6th in Anaheim, California, is we are going to go out into the community in some capacity. I'm not sure what this is yet. And we are going to serve the community. And we're looking for people in manufacturing, in plastics, whether you're a mold maker, a molder, whatever it is. If you would like to have an impact on the communities that we go visit, we are going to put out more information. But February 6th, we're going to be going out into the community in some way to make a difference, to make an effort. It costs no money to you. All we're asking for is your time, your care, and your willingness to serve somebody outside of business and just do something positive for the places that we go. So that's it in a nutshell. We'll have more information about that coming out. Do me a favor, put something in the chat. Let me know if you think it's a good idea, a horrible idea, if you're interested. Our hope is to have anywhere between 5 and 50 people. It's a huge show. I don't think that should be difficult. But I think if we all come together, we can do some amazing, amazing things. So that's enough about me and what's going on. I am going to bring in our guest today. He is, like I said, a CAM programmer and machinist. He works at iMFLUX. And let's bring in Jon Edwards. Jon, how are you, my buddy?
Hello, Tony. Thanks for having me. How are you? I'm doing well.
So, man, I love being able to do this with people I've never met before because it's like a here we go. It's like sit down and speed dating. We got 45 minutes to an hour to learn everything we want to know about each other and see how we can impact other people and give some people some benefits. Rob's Model Room Green. I don't know who that guy is, but he says, prepare to be schooled, gents. Listen, I don't know what that means, but he's on YouTube watching us. I don't know if he's got more thoughts. And is this somebody that you know, Jon?
Yeah, that's one of my guys.
All right. Well, hopefully he's a friend of yours and he's not going to try and make us look foolish because, sometimes I've had that also. So do me a favor, Jon. Tell me a little bit about iMFLUX, and then we'll get into who you are and what you do there and where your expertise comes from.
Okay, so we're a mold builder. We're located in Hamilton, Ohio. Approximately 125 employees. If you think about iMFLUX is kind of interesting in the mold industry. We have two arms of our business. We have a technology arm and then a mold building arm. So about 55 people are going to be doing the mold building, manufacturing support, and then the rest of the company is going to handle our technology, which I'm not a technology guy. Check out our website, kind of look if you're interested in that. It has to do with low constant pressure injection molding.
And I got to iMFLUX when I was at the AMBA Leadership Conference, Emerging Leaders Conference. I spent some time with Brian Haggard, and we talked about a bunch of different things. And then he reached out and he said, listen, I love what you guys are doing with the podcast. I got a guy that I think would be perfect to come on and talk about, how we're doing things differently, how he's changed a little bit of the way that maybe traditional machining is done. And what that looks like. And I thought, shoot, man, listen, if you like the guy and you think it's good, I'm all in. I like talking to people that can teach me things that are different than the everyday. But you were not always a machinist. I was looking at your notes, and your family has an ice cream shop.
No longer.
No longer. Well, that's sad.
Yes. Yeah. But like 30 years of ice cream shops, and that was kind of the family business. And I had every intent on doing that the rest of my life.
I have every intent of eating ice cream every day for the rest of my life. It's one of my favorite things. Now, what kind of and listen, I know we're going to get to the nuts and bolts, but it's ice cream. What kind of, was it handmade, was homemade ice cream? Was it custard? What kind of ice cream did you guys have?
No, you're talking like soft serve. You think of a Dairy Queenish kind of a thing. Soft serve, hamburgers, hot dogs, that kind of a situation. Small towns. Very, very, very good.
And so you left there and then you went and got your apprenticeship at Millicron, right?
Yeah. 2008. So I was located out in a small town, Central Ohio. 2008 financial crisis, lots of manufacturing. I had lots of manufacturing-based customers. Economy kind of stops, and I had to start looking for something else.
Yeah. So Millicron, and it looks like University of Cincinnati. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did. I went to a program that was UC and Millicron partnered up, and it was a 1-semester program. 40 hours a week, lots of schoolwork. And so that was the beginning of the apprenticeship. So that was 1 semester. And then depending on how you did, you got Millicron and they would assign you to a machine. So I went straight into 5-axis machining.
Why take baby steps?
Yeah. It was a lot. It was a lot. But I had a really good teacher and a lot of really good help. And it worked out very well for me.
So what was it that you thought, I'm going to go from the ice cream business, which, doesn't have much to do with plastic injection mold, to I'm going to go to Millicron and I'm going to get my apprenticeship and I'm going to take this path that's totally different than what I know, than what I'm familiar with. And how did you get to that point?
So kind of as a little bridge in between there, I took a job working for a contract security company. Okay. Just trying to make some money. And I worked several places around the city for them. and kind of got to see what manufacturing was like. So in my world, in my high school kind of experience, manufacturing was sold as this is going to be dirty and it's going to be horrible, right? You don't ever want to go into the manufacturing field.
Yep.
That as a security guard, I got to see some of it and was, hey, this is actually really interesting and really nice. And it was nothing like it was described to me. And I was very interested, and it just kind of went from there.
It's really crazy, isn't it? How our perception is our reality. So everything you hear is, or maybe you don't even hear it. You just think it's a manufacturing thing. I don't want to do it. I have no interest. It's got nothing that applies to me. Yada yada. And then when you walk into a space and you go, holy cow, I had no idea this is how this was made. It opens up your eyes to all the possibilities. And I have no idea why, as kids or teenagers, we're not interested in it. I mean, there's the Play-Doh Fun Factory, for crying out loud. And, we used to make cars out of, wax and all kinds of stuff. It should be something that people are passionate about and want to do because it is fun.
It's great. I still run into people that will kind of ask me questions, and there's a tone of negativity towards manufacturing. And I mean, I work in an area it's basically a lab.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very nice, and I would not do anything different.
Yeah, that's awesome. So after you start using the 5-axis, you ran an Integris. 2016, you made the move to iMFLUX, running lathes. 2017, you moved into milling as a machinist. How was that process?
It was fine. So like I said, I apprenticed and learned as a mill guy with kind of like or a lathe guy with some mill stuff on the side, which is how you would utilize a mill turn. And learning a mill was a good experience. It was something I wanted to add to my resume, and I had interest and we had availability, and it just worked.
Yep. So then from there, you move into the EDM department.
Yep.
And worked on Project Spark Team. What is Project Spark Team?
So that's like an interesting little sidebar. So traditionally, you think about sinker EDM, RAM EDM, a couple different names for it. Traditionally, it's programmed conversationally. I don't know if do you know what conversational programming is?
I do. I've never done it.
Okay.
But yeah, but for those that don't know, please share.
Okay, so conversational programming is going to be a format on the control of the machine, and the machine is going to ask you questions. And this is why it's a conversation. By answering those questions, you're going to build some sort of a program, and that's how you're going to manufacture your part.
Okay.
That's the traditional style of programming RAM EDM.
Okay.
We had a lot of error and a lot of process inconsistencies, and we were looking for something different. So there were a couple of CAM softwares on the market that you can purchase and program your sinkers with. But we are a Siemens NX shop, start to finish, from design all the way through. We're using Siemens NX.
Okay.
And there was no solution that would integrate inside of NX, specifically inside of Team Center, which is their data management service.
Okay.
So we made our own.
It's amazing how that works, isn't it? You go, listen, there's nothing else that we can find. We know what we want to do. We know what we need the equipment to do. We know what we want the program to be. If nobody else will do it, we'll do it for ourselves.
Yeah. And it's so I had not been a part of anything like this.
Okay.
And it was very funny to me how, so it started off as just kind of a I wish or what if, and then we started taking small steps, and it took the better part of a year of doing that. And kind of we would make some mistakes and say, hey, I wish we could do this differently, and then we'd stew on it for a while and kind of figure it out. Particularly, we have two sinkers that are attached to an Aroa robot.
Okay.
And managing multiple pieces inside of each sinker and all the electrodes there's a lot of math, and it can get really cumbersome, and this is where you have error, right?
Yeah.
So what we were looking for was something that we could simplify and get software to do that. So you think probably early 2019, we're in probably our last revision, and been running like that since, and is extremely good.
Now, have you guys thought about packaging this up and making it available to somebody else, selling the software, selling the intellectual property, or is it kind of like you just look at people and laugh while they're struggling and you just dominate?
No. So that's probably more of a Brian realm than my realm, but the guys, the Project Spark team who developed it has discussed this probably pretty significantly.
So who knows? So there could be a future.
Yeah, absolutely. So the real kicker is that if you're using NX, and you have sinkers, this will help dramatically.
All right. So if you're listening and you have any questions about what Jon here is saying, and you would like to get some more information, go ahead and put that in the chat, and maybe he'll give you a little bit more information.
Yeah.
But then in spring 2020, you accepted a new role, right? You came on as a CAM programmer for milling.
Yep. CAM programming. So I own or program primarily for our roughing cell.
Okay.
Which is going to be 4 Hercos, 3-axis machines that all have rotaries so our 4th axis capable, and a 5-axis truncated head Herco.
So you run all of that out of your cell yourself?
Yes. So that is the cell.
Okay, that's the full cell.
Yep. And it's good. I really enjoy it. Again, it's NX, so we're, like I said, 99% NX.
Okay. And so I know iMFLUX likes to continue to be innovative, right? We talk about that a little bit with coming up with your own software and being able to make changes to things that are not currently available. What does that look like for you guys to lead with innovation?
So this was something that was we started in 2018. We made a pivot. We had a layoff and kind of changed the way our shop looks, and we kind of started leading with innovation relative to how do we get some excitement again? How do we bring the feel back after we've kind of hit a bump? So this was something that Brian and I talked about. It's actually something my dad pitched to me.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
We just try to find things that are new and have value that we can scale, and we try to fit that into our production strategy, and we can create a lot of excitement based on new things. So I think a lot of it pivots on the team.
Okay.
Our team particularly, we have a really deep bench. Our skill level is extremely high, and success is really celebrated.
Yep.
So if we can find things that work really well and implement them, it really, I hate to use the word vibe or feel, but you can feel it move throughout the shop.
Yeah.
And it's very, very good.
It's one of those intangible things, right? Like you can tell when there's a good mojo, a good energy, things are happening. People they get excited. It's like, I feel like the best way to say it is it's like the opposite of stagnant, right? Where everything is just the same old. You bring in new innovation, new technology, and it changes the attitude of people I think for a number of reasons. I think one of them is people look around, they go, I like working here because they're willing to invest, because they're not willing to stand for the status quo, because they want to do more and push the envelope. And I think all of those things, they breed excitement, and you need that for your team.
Yeah, yeah. The thing I would add to that, and what we've really tried to focus on is where it comes from.
Okay.
So I've been at shops and I've been around shops where it's from the top down.
Hmm.
Uh, we focus very much in the other direction. So
What does
the
that mean?
machinist, the machinists, the guys running the machine, the technical experts are going to be the ones who are pushing the innovation up.
Okay.
Uh, so if I can give a good example, um, uh, recently I mean, it doesn't have to be fancy things. We started using a chip fan. I mean,
Okay.
it's no big deal. It's a fan. It goes in your spindle. It blows off the table, right? Um, but this is something that a machinist wanted because every time running lots of parts, they have to clean the table. The chips they're difficult to manage. They get all over them. It's a manual process.
Yep.
So for a small investment, we can add the chip fan, create excitement, and feel good about what we're doing. And that kind of like it has this snowball effect throughout the shop.
So it's that attitude of meeting with your team and them understanding that their voice is valuable and it's being heard, and that the management, that the ownership at the top wants to get better, but they're not going to push their ideas. They're going to be welcoming and inviting to things that maybe they didn't think about.
So it's welcoming, inviting about things they didn't think of, or maybe something that's totally new. It's also welcoming to. I don't want to use the word failure, but if it doesn't work out, right?
Yeah,
So
then
if
it's not
something
the end of the
doesn't,
world.
nope. We'll take whatever learnings that we got from whatever we just did. We'll apply it. We'll do it again, and we just
Yeah.
keep doing it. We just keep pivoting. We just keep changing, and we just keep getting better and better and better.
Because something always comes out of those quote unquote failures if you let them, right? As long as you have a second afterwards to go back and say, okay, what worked, what didn't work, why didn't it work, how do we get better at this, and what does that look like?
Absolutely. So I can think of a tool test we did. So one of the like big improvements that we did, we pivoted our cutting tool strategy and we started using a lot of solid carbide end mill, doing dynamic milling, high
Okay.
efficiency milling. It's got a million names, but it's high axial engagement at low radial engagement, solid carbide milling.
Okay.
The first tool test was an absolute disaster. Uh, and uh, and we had to learn. It was one of those things we learned. We were doing everything the tooling manufacturers tell you not to do. We were
Okay.
doing, and
That's a good
surprise,
place to start. I mean, do
yeah,
everything that they
yes,
tell you not to do. That's a great place to start.
yeah, surprise, it didn't work.
Yeah.
So we started over maybe a 6 month period. We just kept at it, and we just kept changing and kept improving. And now, I mean, this is a huge value add for
Yeah.
our manufacturing process. And it's something we do on the daily. Multiple machines are doing that. Right now, as we talk, I've got a machine running that's dynamic milling 50 Rockwell 420, which
Okay.
is something when I did my apprenticeship that we would have said was not machinable.
Wow. And so all of that happened because your team was willing to continue to push the envelope, starting from the do not do.
Yes, yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. It's interesting. We stand around and we talk about, it's important that you can laugh at how you stumbled and celebrate where you're at now, which we do a lot
Yeah.
of that.
It takes a level of humility to be able to do that too, right? If you're somebody with a big braggadocious ego, failure is like the worst thing that could ever happen to you. But if you can step back and go, all right, that was a disaster. We made a huge mess, but we can see a little bit of potential here. What if we just tweak a few things here and there? Is it going to have the results that we want? But you have to have the ownership and the leadership that's willing to let people do that and figure things out instead of going, you know what, cancel it. It's costing us too much money. It's costing us too much time. We can't do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting you threw out the word humble. That's one of our core values here at iMFLUX.
Okay.
So humble, hungry, and smart.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
And man, that's a good way to do it, right? Hungry, humble, and smart. Those are because they all flow in nicely together. I don't need to explain it to you. One of my guys, Chris Hess, not my guys, but a guy that I know, he actually goes to our church. He says, Chris Hess here, always interested in molds, lasers, being a driver years ago, going to manufacturing plants, seeing the different molds. It's definitely an art form. Lasers have always fascinated me. Both of your companies produce stuff, and it's what we need. Chris, thanks for listening, watching. It is fun. I mean, it's fun to be a part of this industry that just continues to build things that we use on an everyday basis.
Absolutely. So our iMFLUX is our parent or a wholly owned subsidiary to Procter & Gamble.
Okay.
So consumer products is primarily, we do packaging for Procter & Gamble and consumer products. And you think about, I can walk through most grocery stores and see something that I've had my hands on now.
Yeah.
And that's really nice. I mean, I get to show it to my kids, my daughter, say,
Yeah.
hey, dad did this. Dad had his hands in this. It's a good feeling.
And it's cool. You pick them up in the store and you look at it and you check all the angles and you're making sure that everything came out okay. The downside is when you see certain products and it gets you going and you're like, I want to do work for them, right? Like, how do I get into that place? Like for me, that's right now, that's Lego. I want to work with Lego. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know. Listen, if anybody's listening and you know somebody at Lego, I know they're building another facility. I would love to talk with them in some shape or form. There's a sweatshirt in it for you. If you can get me a conversation with somebody at Lego, we'll send you a whole closet full of clothes. I don't care. It's a goal because I love what Lego is. I love what it stands for. I love how they help kids learn how to build, how to be creative, how to be unique, how to follow instruction, how like every block matters, how if you do something out of sequence, you kind of get a disaster and you're missing stuff, but everything matters and kind of falls into place. And their pieces are so pristine. That's my opinion. So you were mentioning the importance of cutting tool selection and how you guys have been able to change the way that you're doing things and have huge results. What does that look like?
So when we started to talk about new things, new methods of cutting, our stocked or current cutting tool selection, it wasn't adequate. Right.
Okay. Why was it not adequate?
Cutting tools are like everything else. They're very specialized.
Okay.
So when you talk about cutting tool selection, you probably have to talk about application as well. So I have some props here.
Sweet. I don't think we've had a couple guests with props, but this is fun. Let me zoom in on you real quick. Hold on 1 second. Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is an inserted high feed mill. This would be for a strategy we would call it axial high feed milling. So you notice it's large this way and short this way. So when we talk axial, we're talking this direction, and when we talk radial, we're talking this direction across the tool. So this tool will engage the part, if you imagine, with primarily most of this surface covered, but a very low depth this way. Okay. Machinists talking thousandths of an inch. So this tool can engage up to a little over 100 thousandths, but probably about 80 is the strategy we would use. That's 2 millimeters. I'm trying to think about how we could put that in perspective to someone who doesn't think in this way. 125 thousandths is 1/8 of an inch, if that helps. Okay. So when we talk about axial high feed milling, a tool like this is what we're going to talk about. So we were primarily a axial high feed mill shop. If you go back to say 2019, that was our strategy. You can get really good tool life. Insert cost is low. The problem that we would run into is that you might not be able to get the most work out of your tool based on what your part is shaped. So in manufacturing, there's a metric for this, and it's called material removal rate. So this is going to be how much metal do you remove off your apparent material in a cubic, we'll use inches, a cubic inch in 1 minute of work. Okay. So that tool is capable of tremendous material removal rate as long as the part is large and flat and doesn't have not very tall. Okay. So now we'll look at this. This is a 6-fluted solid carbide end mill that will be significantly more expensive than those inserts. But if you could see, now our radial is very small and our axial is large. Okay, so this is I could do 3 1/8 inches of engagement along these flutes. And our goal would be to engage the entire side of this cutter in the metal, but at a very small step over. So where it would take that high feed mill a long time, making a lot of passes at 80 thousandths, this tool can do it in 1 or 2, and it would start stepping over. How you apply that is going to be really what's important about your cutting tool selection. So along those lines, we have a CAM team that's got 5 members. So you think you got 5 programmers that are programming for different cells, and each one of them had I would guess, a preferred method of manufacturing or preferred style. Okay. And that there's nothing wrong with any of them on the surface. The problem with that was we ended up with 5 different tool libraries, and they're very scattered. Okay. It's kind of trying to understand what tools for what and blend the areas is very difficult. So we really started focusing on, I guess, not standardizing. Like a forced standardization is the wrong concept. We're not forcing anything.
Sure.
But the idea is that we'll utilize our tools to the best of our ability. And if we can engage axial high feed mills when we can, and then we will do dynamic radial milling, things like that when we can. And we would let the real, the new thing is that we would let the material removal rate calculation dictate what strategy we're going to use.
Now, how do people typically do that, right? If you're looking at the removal rate as a strategy to dictate what you're going to do and how you're going to build the mold, the tool, how was it done in the past?
That's a fair question. So I believe the pitfall that machinists in particular fall into is that something worked really well for me today. Okay. And today this worked really well, and tomorrow I'm going to do the same thing because it worked really well. Yep. As an industry, machinists in particular tend to be very they're not so receptive to change, and they're like very ingrained. This is how I do this, and there is some self that's put into this. There's self-value with how we do this. So turning that into yesterday, it needs, I guess, changing it to become the way I do this, or how I do this is I'm going to do it the best way. So I'm going to high feed mill now. I'm going to dynamic mill tomorrow. And maybe there's traditional style milling applications as well. And maybe tomorrow that's best. But that's how I'm going to do it the best way.
Sure.
And bending that to be the best and making that work is really about the tool selection, the approach, the whole methodology wraps up into one ball. And we saw a lot of success when we started doing this way. It's interesting. Are you familiar with Titans of CNC?
I am. Yep.
So I was blessed. I got some great teachers at Millicron. Millicron used to be a machine tool company. So a lot of their application engineers went into the plastic division. And I got to learn under application engineers. So material removal rate, things like this was not new to me. I started kind of poking around on Titans of CNC, and they're talking about this, and this was new to the industry. A lot of people hadn't heard this talk. And then we come to the shop and we started talking, and it was new for us as well. And if you want to throw a number out, so some basic calculations, 2019, we were averaging about 2.85 cubic inches a minute on a standard roughing process. We would like to be closer to 10. And we hover around 10 right now.
So you went, say those numbers again. You went from
a 2.85.
2.85, and now you're
Yep.
hovering at 10.
Yes, yeah, depending on part shape. So some days you're going to see it, we'll be up higher than 10, and then other days we're a little lower. And that's with the caveat. So in tool steel, this is a really interesting calculation if you get down into the numbers. But in tool steel, it takes approximately 1 horsepower to do 1 cubic inch of material removal rate. So
Okay.
a 10 cubic inch cut is about 10 horsepower. Our machine tools will run 14 horsepower at 100% duty cycle and peak at 24.
Okay.
So when you say we're averaging 10, a lot of times we're limiting ourselves because we don't want to overrun a machine and damage a spindle, things like
sure.
that.
You're being smart. You want to take care of your equipment. You want to take care of your tools.
Yes, we are very intentional about this, and that's all day, every day, and it starts. I guess it starts with the machinists on the floor and goes all the way through the CAM team up into our manufacturing engineers. They're looking at this and picking tools based on horsepower and machine utilization. And so far, we've not had any issues with this. It's very productive. It's very good.
And based on what you were saying, my thought is if you have problems with it, you're just going to revise it and figure it out differently.
Yeah, we're going to pivot and do something different. Do something different. So one of the happy incidents that came out of this approach, we started getting faster and faster, right? So more and more throughput. We started to increase quality as well. So we rough.
Improve efficiency, you get faster, and the quality gets better. So you're not supposed to be able to get all of those things at once.
No, well, so the name of this type of graph escapes me. But if you think about it as a triangle, on one point, quality, another point, speed, and another point, cost. You start off at the center. As you move towards quality and speed, you lose a little bit in cost. Right. So our tooling costs increase. I would love to tell you it's not a lot, but the tools are more expensive.
Sure.
For higher performance tooling, you will spend more money. But with us, our shop rate dictates that if we can go faster, the amount of tooling cost becomes almost incidental. I don't want to say insignificant because it's not. I mean, right. We're responsible. We focus on it. But if you can run an entire batch of parts in 1 day instead of 3 days, spending $35 on an extra cutter is now it's not so important anymore.
Right. So your quality got better.
Well, so the way we handled our process is we rough much faster. We take a very small portion of that roughing time, and then we add it to some pre-finishing before our part goes into finish work. So now our down process are the things that we do downhill are now more efficient, maybe faster, easier, less scrap because we have less air, things like that. And that was just this happy kind of byproduct of like, let's go faster, let's do more. And then all of a sudden we're standing back looking at things and saying, well, we can do better too.
I just laugh because it's like it's that perfect storm of things, and it only happens if you experiment and try, right? Like yes. You were saying before that a lot of times in this industry, people are very resistant to change because it's always been that do what I say because I say it mentality. This is the way we've always done it, so this is the way we're going to do it. And I think if you don't try to grow and change, you're going to die. You're going to be stagnant.
So it's interesting. I wish I had $1 for every time someone has told me that you can't do that.
Isn't that the best? I love it.
That's impossible.
I love when people say you can't do this. It's impossible. It's like it gives you, and like you were going to do it anyways. But now there's an extra carrot at the end to go, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. A gentleman named Paul Comer just made a comment.
He did, yeah.
We were in a meeting and we had some D2, which is tool steel, that was going to be hardened to 62 Rockwell. And in that meeting, kind of against a couple of our wishes, we said that we're not going to machine that in its hard state. We're going to grind it, which grinding tends to be an extremely accurate process. It's more traditional, but it's very time consuming.
Okay.
Okay. So in this meeting, we talk it through. We decide we're going to take a safe path. We're going to grind these parts. At the end of the meeting, Paul says to me, so do you want a piece of D2? Like, I'll buy you some D2 and we'll make it hard and then we'll machine it. And we'll prove that this can be done. And we did that. And it was, that's when you talk about things bubbling up and the support from leadership. That's it, right? So we took the safe path. We were successful. We made a good mold, but we also cut this real hard piece of stock, and we showed that it could be done, and it can be done reasonably efficiently, and it can be successful. So that our workflows, our work processes are very different now based on that, and that's a huge win. And it just took him to nudge, the little extra from him to keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah, and Paul's comment, to those of you that can't see, says amazing career path, Jon, in the world of manufacturing, pushing tool strategies and tooling companies beyond the comfort zone that benefits us all. I think that's where those big achievements come from. The people like Paul that go, listen, can we just we know the way we're doing it, it's going to work, right? Let's take the safe route, but right, we still want to try it. Why wouldn't we try it? Let's see what it'll do. We kind of did that in our facility when we're building the machines, where with the laser welding machines forever, we've been outsourcing joystick housings, and they're expensive. We get them at a good time frame. It's not the end of the world. And one of our lead engineers, Jeremy, was like, "Hey, there's a new 3D printer that's out. It's not that expensive. If we got one of these, we could probably print all of these ourselves. And we're going to eliminate all of our downtime. We're going to eliminate a lot of expense. There's so many other parts that we can make. What do you think?" We were like, yeah, let's try it. And so we have our standard joysticks, right? We placed an order for joystick housings because we need them. But we also started printing them and really doing strength tests, which means we throw them around the facility and see how long it takes for them to crack. And that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. And it's gotten us to a better place now. So now we did a little bit of experimentation, but to your point, we took the safe route because we need a product. We need something that we know works, but can it be improved?
Yeah. So I think if you don't make that investment, if you don't try,
right,
you're going to get left behind.
Yeah.
I think that's where industry and manufacturing goes. You always have to be on that edge. And then, so if you look at almost every one of our new strategies, our new implementations, our new whatever, there are like spinoffs. There are byproducts to all of them.
Okay.
Very seldom do we get exactly what we're looking for, but we get some extras. And there are some. It's interesting. Maybe our most our highest impact of an innovation was a spinoff. So I don't know if you know much about 5-axis machining, how that all goes, but specifically in the mold realm of 5-axis machining, we need to be extremely accurate, which is difficult. We're talking microns of tolerance. Everything is very difficult. Well, we found that we run on the center line of the machine, that things are much more accurate, and that we would be able to 5-axis machine. So our goal was to be able to finish the outside of, you think about square parts, mold cores and cavities, things like that. We would like to finish them inside of the mill and not send them to a grind. And the reason for that, what we were looking for was, if we could do it all inside the mill, our 5-axis work would have more accuracy. We would be better. Right?
Okay.
The sidebar is that we don't have to grind anymore. Sometimes saying that we don't have to is the wrong statement, but sometimes we don't have to grind.
Right.
And so we went down this path looking at that. We brought in new tooling, new strategies, and we found that when we started doing that, not only did our 5-axis work get much better, but our 3-axis work got substantially better as well. So geometrically, our parts are much, much higher quality. And that was just a sidebar. Like, surprise, we hadn't talked about that, or that wasn't our goal. And there's a lot of value in that for us. When you think about the entire process.
I think it speaks to the team at iMFLUX, right? I've had the opportunity to meet a few of you guys now, and some companies might not even pay attention to that extra data, which became that sidebar. And so it goes into not just doing the job, but paying attention to the numbers, the data, the efficiencies, and what's coming out of that, so that you can progress and make things better for yourselves and for your customers down the line in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And I look to, every day I look to roll something new out, do something different, to be more.
Yeah, I love that because, man, I feel like in so much of life, people go to work and it's a job. It's just a job. And they don't like getting up in the morning. They don't like going to work. And then they hear somebody like yourself say, listen, I love it. I want to see how I can push the envelope today. What can we do better today? What can I personally do better today than I did yesterday that's going to take me, the company, the industry into a level that people haven't seen yet? And that innovation is based on, that people with that, we call it grit, that tenacity to keep fighting and figure out the next thing.
Yeah, it's contagious. So
yes.
It's contagious. You get that vibe, you get it going, and then it just starts to move, and then you've got other people inputting new things, and it's growing, and things are getting better. And
yeah, so the innovation is great, but the passion is better, right? Because without the passion, the innovation doesn't come, and then it dies. So if one person has the wherewithal to have the innovation and the thought, but there's no passion, then it doesn't get other people excited about it. It's just like, there's a thing. But your willingness to say, no, I want to get better. How can we do more? What does this look like? How do we push the envelope? How can we do this better? Then the next guy feels that, and they're like, oh, yeah, I want to do that too. How do we do it? And it becomes this collaboration of energy where, the spark becomes the forest fire.
Yeah. So if you walk out in our shop floor, it's interesting, but someone who doesn't have that is going to be the stick out,
sure,
instead of someone who does. And it's contagious, and it's great, right? So
yeah.
we kind of, you're not going to fit in unless you're willing to jump in there and get at it.
Yeah, and kudos to you guys for being able to do that. I know that myself and Kirby, we're excited to be working with you guys on a few different projects because it's fun. It's fun to work with companies that get it, right? That want to be it, that have that it thing that you can't really put your finger on or explain, but it makes everybody else better and it creates collaboration. You're not worried about, are we, $5 more expensive than the other guy? No, what are we bringing to the table that is going to fit the need that iMFLUX or whoever needs, so that we can have that synergy together, so that we can grow together, so that we can make better parts together. And it's just, like I said, for us, it's really exciting for us to be able to work with, a company like you guys in certain different capacities. And you can feel it just on a standard stupid Zoom phone call when we're like going over parts and what does this look like and how do we polish this and what is this, all of those things coming together and having that collaboration, that conversation where different people have different ideas and all it is going over, how we need to finish the parts. But you can feel that energy. It's not just a conversation piece, right? It's not just a core value that's on words. It's a core value that's in your heart as a company, and it's great when you can actually see that play out.
Yeah, I agree. I feel great about it almost every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, listen, there's some days, and we all have them, and that's okay. That's okay. They're not all award winners. Just, as long as there's more that are great than not great, then we're doing okay. We still have quite a few people listening. We're coming down to the wire here. If you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and put those in the chat. Your guy Rob Green had a comment about Legos. I love it. He said, I started playing with Legos back in the 70s. They definitely get you thinking about how things work. I absolutely agree. I love when my kids get Legos for Christmas or birthdays or whatever. They put them together in one day, though. It's like it's so crazy, and then they just sit on a shelf, and it's awesome. But I just love that innovation and that passion to create. So, John, is there anything else that you would like us to cover? We always end our show with a prayer because we think that's important. And so if you're listening and you have any prayer requests or things like that, please put them in the chat. And before we get to that, like I said, anything else that you think we should cover before we get out of here?
So the only other thing I could say that I found value or that we run into was a relationship with our cutting tool manufacturers. And
Okay.
I see a lot in the industry, people don't utilize this. They don't lean on it. So we work with several manufacturers, both large and small. Like we use some boutique cutters and then some big box stuff. And they all bring a lot of resources to the table. And I've been to shops where the cutting tool application engineers are treated kind of as a salesman and somebody to keep at arm's length, which I mean, it's important to understand they are there to sell things, but they also bring a lot of resources. If you utilize them correctly, it will present a ton of value.
Yeah, I think that goes across the board. I mean, most times they've been doing this for a really, really long time. They know what you need. And if you just tell them the goals and what you're trying to accomplish, a lot of times your vendor wants to be more useful to you than you allow them to be. You think they're just the sales component, but they want to give their knowledge. That's how they have value.
Yeah, so we bounce our processes off of vendors pretty regularly. It's interesting to ask. So most large vendors will, cutting tool manufacturers will offer a service. Well, they will program a part or show you how they would cut it utilizing their tooling. We bump them pretty regularly to see how they would go about cutting our part, and then we reference what our internal strategy would be and compare.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's value in that, and sometimes there's not.
Yeah. Real quick, my guy Richard Evans, thank you again for the cup. Thanks for keeping me hydrated. From RPS, he says, great story, Jon and iMFLUX. Always good to see companies that embrace new tech and find ways to smash boundaries. By the way, tell Brent I say hello.
Okay, I can do that.
So make sure you do that. And let's see, Rob comes back and he says, Jon, what do you see as the next big thing in milling?
So I think if you look back into the late 90s, early 2000s, it was the machine tools that kind of ruled, and the cutting tools were catching up to machine tools. So there was a whole lot of my machine tool can do this, but I don't have a cutting tool that can. Today, I'm starting to see it go the other direction. Cutting tool manufacturing has got really advanced. And there's a lot of really, really interesting and new things that are out there. And I see machine tools kind of lagging behind. So I think it'll be over the next 10 years, I think it'll be interesting to watch how machine tools themselves, the big manufacturers, kind of try to catch up to some of the tooling.
If you could give them advice, what would you like to see them do?
It's hard for me to see past the roughing side of things because I'm primarily roughing, but I would like to have more horsepower on a daily basis. I would like to have more horsepower. Yeah,
It's like Tim Taylor, right? We're going back to Tim the Toolman Taylor. More
so
power.
so that end mill that I showed you is a 5/8 diameter 5x D cutter that is capable of a 45 to 50 horsepower cut in tool steel. And I mean, 10 years ago, that would have been, you would have had some monster tool to get anything close to that. So the machine tools themselves, the horsepower to size ratios, I think are a little askew. I'd like to see some more power in the smaller machines.
Well, there you go. Machine manufacturers, get on it. Crank that sucker up. That's more power. iMFLUX is going to buy them. They want to push them to their limits. So, not that you have that say, John. Sorry, I just thought I would,
Well, you never know. Brian's listening, so.
Yeah, good. It's good. Well, I don't see any prayer requests in here, and I want to be courteous of your time. Do you have any prayer requests for us?
No, not at all.
None at all. At my house, we have this rule that if you don't have any prayer requests, we pray for suffering so that you get something. But I'm not going to do that for you.
So I defer to your expertise here, sir.
That's fair. All right, I'll pray for us, and then we'll get out of here. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to talk with John. Thank you for all the knowledge that he was willing to share with us. Thank you for the people that were listening and commenting. And we just pray that we were able to bring some information to them, some humor to them, and just allow them to have a positive experience today. And we just pray that you would continue to be with us, that you would keep us safe, that you would help us to continue to grow, that you would help us to continue to lead well, to shepherd the people around us, and keep listening and be good leaders. And we just thank you for all of it, and we thank you for the Christmas season that we're in, and we give it all to you, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. John, thank you, my friend, for joining me. Brian was right. I loved talking with you. I love to be able to, hear your energy through, what you had to share. And it's stuff that I don't know anything about. And so for me, it's exciting to learn new things. You were asking me before why we started the podcast, and this is it. One of the reasons is so I can learn more stuff, so I can be part of other people's experience and celebrate, who they are and the experience that they have. So thank you for taking some time and sharing what you do with everybody that's listening.
All right, thank you very much, Tony.
All right, have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
All right, everybody, thank you for watching and listening. We made it in just about an hour. That's pretty good for us. I want to thank John and the team at iMFLUX for coming on and sharing their expertise and how they're changing the way that things are being cut, how they are becoming more efficient, how they are becoming more profitable, and how they're creating more quality. All of those things by making a few different changes. And what I really appreciate about them is they're not keeping it a secret to themselves. They're willing to come out and say, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. If you want, join us. Find new innovation. Push the pace. Find new ways to do things so that we can all get better together as an industry. And those are the things that I feel make our space unique in relation to so many other industries that I've been able to work with and work in. And so I just appreciate the people like iMFLUX for being able to do that. So once again, please pass on the show to somebody that you think might find some value in it. We do this. We try to do this. I'm not going to say we do this because I won't be lying. We try to do this every Wednesday. Every Wednesday at 1:30 Central Standard Time. There are so many stories out there that we want to tell. And maybe yours is one of them. Maybe you know somebody who has a good story. We want to be able to be part of that and tell their story and share it with the world. So if you know somebody that would like to be on the show or you would like to be on the show, please send us an email. Send Vanessa an email to vanessaf@ alliancelasersales.com. You guys can't see it. She gets really happy every time I get that right. So then it makes me happy. That's great. Try to plan to come and join us at MD&M West. There will be more information coming out. Remember, this is not about doing something for your company. It's about doing something for people. It's about loving people and giving back to the community, giving back to the places that we get to go inhabit and wreak havoc on for 3 days. And so the least that we can do is pay it back and make an impact in a very positive way. So like I said, more information about that coming out soon. Do we have a show next week? We don't know. If you'd like to be on the show next week, let Vanessa know. We got a space for you. If not, we hope that you have a very, very Merry Christmas. And we will see you in January for sure. Until then, thank you on behalf of myself, Jon, iMFLUX, and Alliance. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Easy for me to say. Take care and God bless.